Imagine a world where a simple cut could kill, where childbirth becomes a life-or-death gamble, where routine surgeries are deemed too risky. This is the terrifying reality we face as antibiotic resistance tightens its grip on our world. By the year 2050, experts predict a staggering 10 million deaths per year due to this silent pandemic, surpassing even cancer. The time to act is now, before we are all rendered defenseless. We live in an era of unprecedented medical advancement, yet we are on the brink of being dragged back to a pre-antibiotic age. The very medications that have revolutionized healthcare and saved countless lives are losing their power, threatening to unravel decades of progress. This is not a futuristic dystopia, it is the stark reality we must confront. The rise of antibiotic resistance is a complex issue with far-reaching consequences, demanding our immediate attention. We must understand the causes, the implications, and most importantly, the steps we can all take to avert this looming catastrophe. Our collective future depends on it. Antibiotic resistance is a natural phenomenon, but human actions have dramatically accelerated its pace. Bacteria, like all living organisms, evolved to survive. When exposed to antibiotics, the weaker bacteria are killed, while the stronger, resistant ones survive and multiply. These resistant bacteria can then pass on their protective mechanisms to other bacteria, creating superbugs that are impervious to our current arsenal of antibiotics. This process is akin to an arms race where bacteria are constantly evolving to outsmart our drugs. The more we use antibiotics, the more opportunities we give bacteria to develop resistance. Overuse and misuse of these vital medications are driving forces behind this global health threat. We must learn to use antibiotics responsibly and only when absolutely necessary to preserve their effectiveness for future generations. The statistics paint a grim picture. Currently, at least 700,000 people die each year from drug-resistant infections worldwide. If left unchecked, this number is projected to skyrocket to 10 million deaths annually by the year 2050, with a cumulative economic cost of $100 trillion. These figures represent more than just statistics. They represent human lives cut short, families torn apart, and a global economy brought to its knees. The burden of antibiotic resistance extends beyond healthcare, impacting agriculture, food security, and overall global development. The World Bank warns that by 2050, antimicrobial resistance could push 28 million people into extreme poverty, disproportionately affecting low-income countries with already fragile healthcare systems. The time for complacency is long gone. We must act decisively to avert this impending catastrophe. The rise of antibiotic resistance is a multifaceted problem driven by a complex interplay of factors. Overuse and misuse of antibiotics in human medicine are major contributors. Often, antibiotics are prescribed for viral infections like colds and flu, against which they are ineffective. Furthermore, the rampant use of antibiotics in livestock farming to promote growth and prevent disease has created a breeding ground for resistant bacteria. These resistant bacteria can then spread to humans through consumption of contaminated food or contact with animals. Adding to the challenge is the dwindling pipeline of new antibiotics. Pharmaceutical companies have little financial incentive to invest in developing new drugs that will be used sparingly and reserved for the most resistant infections. This lack of innovation leaves us ill-equipped to combat the ever-evolving threat of superbugs. The consequences of unchecked antibiotic resistance are dire. Common infections, once easily treatable, could become deadly. Routine surgeries, organ transplants, and cancer treatments, all reliant on effective antibiotics, would become incredibly risky. The very foundations of modern medicine are built upon the availability of effective antibiotics. Without them, we risk returning to a pre-antibiotic era where even minor injuries could prove fatal. The social and economic implications of such a scenario are almost too vast to comprehend. The global economy would be crippled by the loss of productivity, the strain on healthcare systems, and the cost of caring for those with untreatable infections. The human toll, however, would be immeasurable, marked by widespread suffering and loss of life. Despite the gravity of the situation, we are not powerless in the face of this threat. Scientists are working tirelessly to develop new antibiotics, explore alternative treatments like phage therapy, and develop rapid diagnostic tools to ensure appropriate antibiotic use. Governments and international organizations are collaborating to raise awareness, improve surveillance of resistant infections, and implement stricter regulations on antibiotic use in both human and veterinary medicine. These efforts are crucial, but they are not enough. Combating antibiotic resistance requires a collective effort from individuals, healthcare professionals, policymakers, and industry leaders. We must all play our part in preserving these life-saving medications for generations to come. Addressing the global threat of antibiotic resistance requires a multifaceted approach, transcending national borders and involving stakeholders from all sectors of society. International collaboration is paramount to sharing information, coordinating research efforts, and implementing effective policies. The World Health Organization has developed a global action plan on antimicrobial resistance, providing a framework for countries to develop their own national strategies. This plan emphasizes the importance of infection prevention and control, responsible use of antibiotics, and increased investment in research and development. Furthermore, raising public awareness about the importance of antibiotic stewardship is crucial. Educating the public on the appropriate use of antibiotics, the dangers of self-medication, and the role of hygiene in preventing infections is essential to curbing the spread of resistance. While the fight against antibiotic resistance might seem daunting, every individual has a role to play in preserving these life-saving medications. Simple actions can have a significant impact when adopted collectively. Firstly, practice good hygiene. Washing your hands frequently with soap and water, covering your mouth and nose when you cough or sneeze, and staying home when you are sick can significantly reduce the spread of infections, decreasing the need for antibiotics. Secondly, get vaccinated. Vaccines protect against viral infections like the flu, preventing secondary bacterial infections that often require antibiotic treatment. By staying up to date on vaccinations, you are not only protecting yourself, but also contributing to the global effort to reduce antibiotic use. Thirdly, only take antibiotics when prescribed by a qualified healthcare professional. Never self-medicate or share your antibiotics with others. If you are prescribed antibiotics, make sure to complete the full course as directed, even if you start feeling better before finishing all the medication. The silent pandemic of antibiotic resistance is one of the most pressing global health threats of our time. Failure to act decisively and collaboratively will have catastrophic consequences for humanity. We are on the cusp of a medical precipice, but we still have time to change course. We must demand greater investment in research and development of new antibiotics and alternative treatments. We must advocate for responsible antibiotic use in both human and veterinary medicine. And we must all embrace our individual responsibility to prevent infections and use antibiotics judiciously. The fight against antibiotic resistance is a fight for our collective future. Let us rise to the challenge with the urgency and determination it deserves. Our health, our well-being, and the well-being of future generations depend on it.